go to eat? Oh, I don't care. Well, what do you want? I don't care. Well, now those kinds of people who, whatever, I don't care, nothing bothers them, they seem to be very patient. That is not my personality. My personality is a choleric. I'm the one, my motto is ready, aim, fire. Or sorry, ready, fire, aim. Sorry. Ready, fire, aim. Sorry. We've been around a long time. So that's my motto. So I have a hard time with patience. My personality makes it a hard time. And so, part of it is your personality, part of it is how you've grown up, whether people have been patient with you, or they've not, and those kinds of things. But God says, I'm patient with you. And so I do want you to be patient with your spouse. So if we're not doing well in that, then it's one of the things we say, okay, I really want to work on that. Now, let me just say, you can't go down through 1 Corinthians 13 and say, let's see, there's about 10 things here. I don't want to work on those all this week. Wrong. Wrong. If patience is your weakness, then say, this week I'm working on patience. I'm going to work on that. So that when the dishes aren't done, or whatever isn't done with your kids, it's not like, why isn't that done? It's like, God, this is just a lesson. You're going to refine me in a whole area of patience. And so that's your thing that you're working on that particular week. Okay? Kindness. Love is kind. That means that you do not say cruel things, not only to your wife, but to anybody. Love is kind. Okay? Love does not envy. Well, we're back to Jonathan and David, aren't we? Love doesn't envy. Jonathan certainly could have envied David and saying, I should be king and you are. How come? I want what you have. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be money, a lot of money. Sometimes we are envious over sometimes very simple things. Can you think of examples of what we can be envious about? What we can envy somebody else about or envy our spouse about? Can you think of things that we can envy?
I think I envy my spouse's position.
Okay.
This is the authority figure.
Okay.
And I want to move into that position all the time.
Okay.
So I have to swallow that.
Okay. And that's hard, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we envy somebody's position. Okay. What else sometimes do we envy? Talking about using our gifts to serve today, sometimes we envy other people's gifts. I can't do anything. The only thing I do is make coffee real well. I can't preach or teach or whatever. The only thing I can do is help children in the nursery. I can work with little 2-year-olds. Oh, bless you. Bless you, because it's not my gift. Okay? It's just not Carrie Rice said, no, that's not your gift. I've been in the nursery a few times, that's not your gift. But pardon? That requires patience. Yes, indeed, that requires patience. And it's not that I don't love the children, I do. In fact, a lot of the children come up and give me a hug, and I look forward to that. But it's sitting there with a baby who's crying, you can't get it to stop and change a diaper. I know, I did all that stuff, but that's not me. Does not boast, along the same lines. Not only do I not envy what you have or who you are, the gifts you have, but I don't boast about the ones I have. Because I am firmly convinced that there are a lot of, and this is a stereotype, okay? But there are a lot of little old ladies who pray and pray and pray who are going to be far above me when we get to heaven. I really believe that. I'm not saying that to be, I just believe that, there are some people that, think, well, I can't do anything, maybe they're homebound or whatever, and all I do is I pray for it. Oh, well, bless you, because you do. And I have a feeling that God's got far greater gifts, rewards for that person who faithfully prays for me than the messages I might preach or teach. I really do. So we have to be careful about boasting. Isn't proud? Goes along with that on the next page. Pride is a difficult thing for all of us. I think pride is one of the major sins. It was the very first sin. The very first sin that was ever committed was by Satan. And what was his sin? Pride. If you read Isaiah chapter 14, you will see the fall of Satan. And what you read in there is, I will ascend to the highest hill, I will. You read 7 I's. I. His first sin was pride. Okay? And so you have lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and pride of life are the 3 major sins which we fall everything else into. Okay? You can just take them like a funnel and pour every sin into those 3. And then funnel that all down into pride. I'll be like God. I'll make my choices. Is not rude. Are we rude sometimes to our spouse? If so, how are we? I mean, we don't usually say nasty things to them or do things, but sometimes we are rude to our spouse. Sometimes I am. And I'll tell you how I am. Okay? Sometimes I forget to go open the door for my wife, for the car door. And she's smiling, going, I'm patient with you. Sometimes I do, and I go, you got it right. And most of the time going, I should have done that, and you didn't, you blew it that time. So I think that's rude sometimes, just to do that. And I don't do a very good job of it. Okay, and she'll tell you I don't. How else are we rude to our spouses sometimes? Just in something simple like that. How else are we rude? Think of anything? You probably can. You just don't want to share it. It's not self-seeking. Isn't easily angered. I will tell you that anger for a long time has been a problem for me. I wrestle with anger because my dad was always angry about things. He had a very, very short temper. And I always said I will never be like my dad, and it turned out to be exactly like my dad. There's some philosophical things that causes that to work out. But doesn't get easily angry. That's a tough one. Keeps no record of wrongs. That's what we talked about before. No trading stamps, no books. Does not delight in evil. Rejoices with the truth. Protects. Trusts. Hopes and perseveres. Those last four are sometimes difficult to trust, to persevere. But God says that's the whole point of unconditional love. That's the whole point of that video clip this morning. Why does he do that? Why does he give $24,000? Because he unconditionally loves her. Okay? Regardless of what she does to him. Okay? Now go back to the clip a couple weeks ago where he's sitting at the campground. His dad walks up to the cross. He says, how can I love her when she treats me the way she does? And his dad's standing by the cross, and he goes, I don't know, good question. And the answer now is translated, how can I love her when she treats me the way she does? He got it finally. He understood God's love for him, and so he was able to unconditionally love her. Unconditional love is a difficult thing. But I will tell you, just as you said, Dave, that if one of you will unconditionally love the other, it's amazing what it does to the other. Okay? And I've told you the story in Africa. My wife came over there. We were really having our difficulties and so forth. And she said to me when she came over to Africa, I have chosen to unconditionally love you. I can tell you what that did to me. What that did to me was, I wanted to smack myself around the room, first of all. And then I said, if she can do that, I will do that for her. And so it was a growth process for me. And what unconditionally loving somebody will do is amazing. I will tell you one story, and then we have to finish. At a former church I was at, I had an elder who, from the time I came, said, I don't agree with anything you do. I don't want anything to do with it. And after a while, he left the board, and then he came back on the board, and he continued to do those very things. He said, I don't agree with anything you do. I don't like you. I don't agree with anything. I was in my office one day. It's as clear to me now as it was then, reading how Jesus took 12 disciples who were fighting for who's got the first position, who's sitting on the right hand, who's sitting on the left, and Jesus loved them. And I'm thinking, now if he can love them, what a motley crew, I can love this guy. And it was only the grace of God. And so the next elder meeting came in, and I said, I just need to tell the elder something. I need to tell you something. I said, I am able to unconditionally love you, regardless of what you say or do. And 2 weeks later, he left the church. Why? Because there was nothing now that he could do. I would unconditionally love him and meant it from the bottom of my heart. So you either have to change and say, okay, I can't deal with that anymore, or you say, that convicts me to do the same. So I challenge you to unconditionally love your spouse. Next week when we get together is a very important topic, and it's the topic of forgiveness. Please don't miss. I want to share with you from Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Languages of Apology, Forgiveness. And you will appreciate those. Okay? Let me pray. Father, thanks for our time together this morning. And we thank you that you unconditionally love us.